I'm going to take you guys through a typical warm-up for me for squats. So this was actually on Thursday, February 9th, when I was warming up for my 370-pound triples on squats. So first I like to start out with hip circle squats, really driving my knees out into the hip circle. I love the hip circle, activating my outer quad. I also do body weight hip thrusts before I do the hip circle squats. So I do about 10 to 20 of those. Then I go straight into the bar, so just the bar with 40 pounds, and do a set of 10 typically. Next, I'll do a set of 5 with 135 pounds, just really sitting into my heels, driving through my glutes. As you can see, I'm very deliberate about each of my movements in my squat. I'm not just like going through the motions and doing kind of a half squat when I first start squatting. I'm not like, my form is exactly the same for 135 pounds, 185 pounds as it is for 370 pounds. So I'm very deliberate because I want to treat lightweight like it's heavy, and then heavyweight I treat the same way as I do lightweight. So it's all about technique too, especially for squat. It's such a technical lift, same as deadlift, same as bench, but there's such technical lifts that I really, any more opportunity I can get to focus on my technique, then that is good. So then I go into 185 pounds. So this is just an example of the weights that I use to warm up to my heavy sets. Obviously it'll be different for you depending on what weight you're working up to, but generally I like to warm up enough to get my body obviously warm and get my technique down, but not too much where I feel tired. By the time I get to 370 pounds, I am ready to go. I'm not tired. I'm not, my sets weren't excessive. So as you can see, I'm only doing 2 reps with 225 pounds. So as you can see, after 225 pounds, I add my knee sleeves, my squat shoes, and my belt. I always warm up in a flat shoe, so it's not like I'm squatting in a tennis shoe or a running shoe. I would highly recommend not doing that. But as I get up to the heavy weight, I either like to squat in a flat shoe or in my squat shoes. But as you'll notice, after 225 pounds, that's when I add my, I guess you could say support, my knee sleeves, my belt, and my shoes. And then I just go into 275 pounds and do 2 reps. So I'm not overly warming myself up. I'm not fatiguing myself. And then in between sets, if I feel a little bit cold, as you can see, I was wearing a sweatshirt and pants. It was about 20 degrees outside yesterday. I'm recording this on Friday. So I was pretty cold, so I, in between sets, sometimes I do body weight squats just to keep my legs warm, to keep my glutes firing. I might get on the ground and do a couple body weight hip thrusts to keep my glutes activated. So once I get up to about 315 pounds, typically the most that I'll be doing is 1 to 2 reps. So really just trying to get my form down, trying to get my technique down. So after 315 pounds, I moved into 345 pounds where I just did a single as well. So this was just really to get my technique down. As I mentioned, this is, singles in a meet is what I'm after. I'm not trying to be the best at doing sets of 5, even though, obviously doing well in sets of 5 is important to get volume in and get practice, but really focusing on making my first rep really, really good. So that's why I decided to do the 345 pounds before 370, really just to get my technique even more solidified, because I was feeling a little bit meh on the 315 pounds, so it really changes by day. So on kind of what jumps I'll make. Sometimes if I'm working up to like 360 pounds, 315 will be my last warm-up before 360 pounds. But this day I just wanted one more warm-up single to move into 370 pounds. So this was my first set of 370 pounds for triples. This honestly was very encouraging for me. I am hoping to hit a 400-pound squat in competition, and hitting 370 pounds for triples is a good indication of where I'm going to be and that I'm going to be able to do it. So I hope. So if things continue to go well and my form continues to improve and my technique continues to improve with practice as I lead up to the Arnold, which I will be competing in the Pro American on Saturday. So this was my first set. I was very nervous for this because this is the most weight I've ever done in, I guess I'd say in the past 6 months for triples. Last year I did hit a triple at 380 before, but this just was like kind of getting back into my form. I was thrown off a little bit this past year, or in December when I was traveling quite a bit, and my squat just fell off for like about 3 months. So it really feels good to be having it back now and feeling more like normal. So this was my second set, 370 pounds by 3. So as you'll see on this set, I got a little too amped up. So I started actually like just getting really nervous, and I still get very nervous on squats, even though squats are my best to lift. So I was talking to myself, saying a few prayers, but I was getting too amped up. So you'll notice here, see on the first rep looked good, but on the second rep, if you look close enough, so first rep was good, so that was solid. Then on the second rep, I got a little too hyped up. I went down a little too fast, and then I kind of got like stuck right there in the hole. So I lost my tightness. It was just because I was like just trying to go too fast. The third rep ended up being, pretty decent, but just that second rep threw me off. So see there, just with a little bit of forward lean, I just lost my tightness, and actually then I ended up taking about 15 minutes before my third set. So sometimes people ask me, how long do I take between each set? If I'm powerlifting, I take at least 10 minutes between sets, because I want each rep to be as similar as possible, and I want to be fully recovered. So here, this was my last set, and I really was focusing on driving through and making them as good as possible. So really focusing on my form. So here, just adding in some deadlifts. Just wanted to show you guys I did a 395-pound deadlift, and then worked up to a heavy single of 410 pounds, which is the fastest that this weight has ever felt in recent times. So it was good, RPE of about 8 or so. As you can see, I really do think about it before I go, and sometimes I'm standing behind the bar just concentrating for a minute or so. But this felt good, and this was encouraging. So just a little bit of a training update for you guys, and also how I warm up for squats. And I hope it's helpful. So hoping to hit that 400-pound squat at the Arnold.